In 2007, TLC introduced America to the most relatable family on television. 8 kids, 2 exhausted parents, a minivan that had clearly seen things, and a production crew quietly turning every one of those things into content. The pitch was simple: real life, real chaos.
I need to take a break and help me clean. I just want to roll this off of here.
Well, I'm doing this. Just can you wait 5 seconds?
Real love. What viewers actually got over the next 2 decades was a slow-motion crash involving infidelity, a custody war, a psychiatric institution, and eventually a memoir with the word "cell" in the marketing copy. Jon and Kate Gosselin built an empire on the idea that their family was just like yours, except with 6 more kids and significantly worse boundaries. For a while, that worked. The ratings were enormous. The magazine covers were endless, and the world genuinely believed it was watching a feel-good story about love conquering chaos. Then the cameras kept rolling long after the love did, and what started as wholesome family television slowly curdled into one of the messiest, most disturbing case studies in what happens when you let a network film your children's entire childhood for content. By the time one of those children grew up and wrote a book accusing his own mother of locking him in a basement,
Determine cost. But that's where usually everything
John, they know how you weigh apples.
Feel-Good Family Show was no longer an accurate description of anything. So how exactly does America's favorite multiples family end up here? Buckle up, because the answer involves fertility clinics, a 3rd-grade teacher, and a Marine Corps discharge. Before there was a TLC empire,
Put that down, and you can continue in a minute. I'll just roll it towards you, and you can have your spot. Just sit it down.
there was just Jon and Kate Gosselin, a Pennsylvania couple who met at a company picnic in 1997 and got married 2 years later in what Kate would later describe with the unwavering confidence of someone who had no idea what was coming as a perfect garden wedding. Kate wanted kids.
Oh, honey.
It's okay, it's all right.
All right, I'm not talking anymore.
No.
Her body, afflicted with polycystic ovarian syndrome, had other plans, so the couple turned to fertility treatment. The first round produced twin girls. The second round, because apparently moderation wasn't in the Gosselin vocabulary, produced 6 embryos at once. In May 2004, Kate gave birth to Sextuplets.
Honey, you're all right.
Instantly making the Gosselins one of the rarest families in America, and more importantly, for our purposes, an irresistible piece of content. A local news special about surviving 6 babies plus a toddler twin set turned into a ratings hit almost by accident.
And I have recently, we've collectively decided that I need to be home.
And Discovery Health Smelling Money signed the family for a full series in 2007. The premise wrote itself. Watch 2 ordinary, slightly frazzled parents somehow keep 8 small humans alive using nothing but spreadsheets, sheer panic, and an army of relatives. By the time the cameras settled in, the crew was taping 2 to 3 hours a day, 2 to 3 days a week, inside a house that was quietly turning into a soundstage with 8 unpaid extras who happened to also live there. Audiences loved it. The show moved to TLC. Ratings climbed every season, and by season 5, the premiere pulled in 9.8 million viewers, a number that, at the time, made Jon and Kate bigger television draws than most scripted dramas.
Nice shoes.
I don't understand why you ask me. Who cares?
Jon and Kate even renewed their wedding vows in Hawaii in 2008, presumably while a camera crew filmed every second of it. It looked, for all intents and purposes, like a fairy tale with a slightly absurd cast count.
You can't walk away without Leah.
Leah, come here, honey.
You need to wake up and keep an eye on everyone.
Let go of their...
It was not. It was a fairy tale with a fixed-rate mortgage on disaster, and the interest was about to come due. The cracks didn't creep in quietly. They arrived with paparazzi photos. In the spring of 2009, while Kate was away promoting her book, photographers caught Jon leaving a bar at 2 in the morning with a 23-year-old third-grade teacher named Deanna Hummel. Hummel's own brother, apparently unconcerned with family loyalty, confirmed the affair to Us Weekly, telling reporters his sister was not a homewrecker, while simultaneously describing in unnecessary detail exactly how non-platonic the relationship sounded through their shared apartment walls. Jon denied it. Hummel denied it. The tabloids did not care because by this point, Jon and Kate had become certified American obsessions. By the end of the year, Jon had landed on 52 magazine covers, a number he volunteered himself, later telling a magazine he had been the most photographed person in 2009.
We're done. I've been looking for you.
Go to 11.
A nurse and a guy who used to work at a hotel had somehow out-paparazzi'd actual Hollywood royalty, and the currency funding that fame was their own marriage falling apart in real time. Then came the nanny. Stephanie Santoro, who had worked for the family for exactly 1 month, told a magazine that Jon invited her over, asked her for a massage, and informed her, with the smooth confidence of a man who had clearly thought this through, "Whatever you do, don't fall in love with me." Add in a plastic surgeon's daughter and a future Lohan family member to the list of alleged entanglements, and Jon Gosselin had somehow assembled a worse rap sheet of public scandal than most actual celebrities manage in a full career. On June 22, 2009, Kate filed for divorce.
So I found this big bin of toys and I'm playing with Leah and showing her all these different animals.
TLC suspended production the very next day, which tells you everything about which mattered more to the network, the marriage, or the footage. The final episode aired that November. The show was quietly rebranded as Kate Plus 8 because nothing says moving on healthily like keeping the production schedule and just removing one parent from the marquee.
To 11.
No, I can't. Would
Why?
you come here? Because you need to stop playing toys and come help.
But the unraveling wasn't only about who slept with whom. While the tabloids were busy with Jon's love life, Pennsylvania's labor board was busy asking a far more serious question: whether the Gosselin children were, legally speaking, child laborers. Investigators found that lighting had been installed specifically for filming, that products were placed in shots, and that the kids regularly introduced segments on camera, all without the work permits that should have been required. The resolution: no charges, just a requirement that at least 15% of the show's gross earnings be placed in trust funds for the kids until they turned 18. And here's the detail that makes the entire investigation worth the price of admission. Officials closed the case without ever once setting foot inside the Gosselin house. Civil rights attorney Gloria Allred called that rather shocking, then pointed out, with the patience of someone explaining gravity to a toddler, that the house was in fact the workplace. Nobody disagreed. Nobody visited. The cameras kept rolling for years.
When everyone looked and I got embarrassed. So I went up to the front and I stayed where she told me to stay.
And then there's Colin. Of the 8 kids, Colin became the most visible casualty of what fame actually cost this family. In 2016, when he was 12, Kate placed him in the Fairmont Behavioral Health Institute, telling People magazine he had special needs with a diagnosis she called fairly fluid. Jon says he wasn't even told. He claims he simply noticed his son missing from a school visit one day, and when he asked where Colin had gone, the school counselor wouldn't say. Colin eventually smuggled out a handwritten letter to his father in 2018, the reality TV equivalent of a message in a bottle, begging to be picked up. Kate failed to show up to the resulting custody hearing, and Jon was awarded full legal custody on the spot. By 2023, Colin and his sister Hannah were telling a very different story on camera, in a Vice documentary no less. The same medium that built this family's fortune now dismantling its reputation piece by piece. Colin alleged he was isolated as punishment for refusing to film. Hannah confirmed their mother kept him separate from the others, banned even from eating meals with his own siblings. Kate's response was to insist Colin had received multiple psychiatric diagnoses for unpredictable and violent behavior, which is certainly one way to frame institutionalizing your preteen on national television's Afterglow.
Laying up in the aisle. She's down checking out the girls' stuff.
I was stressed. I didn't
I'm
want
playing
them
with
to
the
see it.
Even Mady, the one sibling who had mostly stayed out of it, couldn't stay quiet. She wrote online that people should remember she was a child too. A quietly devastating reminder that an entire generation of this family grew up on a soundstage, not just the one currently making headlines. It got worse. In 2024, Colin said his discharge from the U.S. Marine Corps traced back to that same 2016 institutionalization, a decision his mother made 8 years earlier, somehow still showing up on his service record. Then, in August 2025, Colin posted a TikTok captioned, "Forced apart, pitted against each other," reflecting on the siblings he'd lost touch with. Kate's entire public response was 3 words and a crying emoji: "He knows why." Reader, nobody knew why. And just when you thought the story had run out of basements to dig into, Colin announced a memoir in 2026 alleging he was kept in what he describes as a literal basement cell and given antipsychotic medication at age 11. From Sextuplet, Miracle Baby, to memoir subtitle, Surviving the Reality of My Childhood. That's not a redemption arc. That's a horror franchise with a TLC distribution deal. And if you're wondering how a show built on spreadsheets and sheer panic ends up somewhere this dark, Stick around because the answer isn't bad luck.
Stick out, because it's getting really annoying. I didn't hold my tongue. I just said what was on my mind.
It's bad math. Let's do the math. Nobody at TLC wanted to do. 8 kids, 1 camera crew, infinite episode orders, and a format that only worked if there was always something happening. Conflict is good TV. Conflict involving children is apparently also good TV, which is the kind of sentence that should have ended several careers and somehow ended none. The show needed chaos the way a fireplace needs wood, and nobody asked the wood how it felt about it.
Hello! We're over here.
You told me to stay here.
Come.
8 kids meant 8 potential storylines running at once, which is either an efficient content pipeline or a household with no off switch, depending entirely on whether you were watching it or living inside it. Here's the part that should bother you more than the affair ever did. A ready-made model already existed, California's Coogan Law, built decades earlier to stop child actors from being exploited on Hollywood sets, complete with mandatory trust accounts and strict limits on working hours. Reality television simply never bothered asking whether the same protections should apply to actual children performing actual labor, just without a script, a SAG card, or, as it turned out, much in the way of oversight. The Gosselin case was the moment regulators got handed the receipts and decided the appropriate response was a trust fund and a shrug. Nearly 2 decades later, the law still hasn't caught up. That's the actual scandal here, bigger than the affair, bigger than the nanny. An entire genre of television figured out how to monetize childhood faster than anyone figured out how to regulate it. And here's the part that turns a messy divorce into a structural problem. Custody, income, and screen time all got tangled into the same rope.
Here's the whipping boy. So I drag both cards down to them, and
Whoever kept more kids on camera kept more leverage, in court and in ratings, which means every single fight about visitation was happening with a TLC paycheck quietly sitting on the table. Add a public divorce, a renamed show, and a kid who vanished from a school roster with zero explanation. And you get a family where the worst day of someone's childhood was, by definition, also a deliverable. Colin's memoir isn't a twist, it's an invoice. Reality TV just took 19 years to mail it, and the postage, it turns out, was paid for entirely in childhood, which leaves only one question worth asking before the credits roll: whether any of it, the fame, the money, the 19 years of footage, was ever actually worth what it cost. So is any of it worth it? For about 2 seasons, Jon and Kate +8 really did sell the fantasy it promised. Ordinary people, extraordinary odds, genuine love holding it together with duct tape and sheer exhaustion.
myself and Maddie and Kara, we went to the mall.
Honey, don't ramble. Like, say it in
not
5
rambling.
seconds.
It was charming. It was relatable. It was, in hindsight, the calm before one of the messiest reality TV collapses of its era. What followed was an affair scandal, a labor investigation that never bothered showing up to the actual workplace, a rebrand, a custody war, an institutionalization, a Marine Corps discharge, a TikTok feud conducted largely in crying emojis, and now a memoir promising even more basement-shaped revelations.
You could tell she was like, "Rawr, I want to get out of here."
No, I didn't want the girls to see what I got them.
Yeah.
Somewhere between the fertility clinic and the publishing deal, the Gosselins stopped being a family that happened to be on television and became a television show that happened to contain a family. 8 kids who never got a say in which one. 19 years later, the only thing more consistent than the Gosselin drama is TLC's willingness to keep airing the reruns, royalty checks still arriving long after anyone involved would call this a happy ending. So no, it probably wasn't worth it, not for the kids anyway, though the ratings would disagree. Like, subscribe, and tell us which reality family deserves to have their basement inspected next.